Silence before the storm. A devastating story that shatters your priorities forever. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the small, sleepy town of Maplewood. Everything seemed ordinary on the surface. Families watched television, kids played outside, and crickets chirped their nightly serenade. But beneath this placid veneer, an electric tension crackled in the air, whispering of the impending chaos. A storm was brewing, but it was not one anyone could see with their eyes. It choked the air with a sense of dread, a feeling of something dark and dangerous lurking just beyond the light. Then came the first strange occurrence: a left shoe, bloodied and battered, found sitting in front of the old library. Nobody claimed it. A chill ran through those who spotted it, their hearts pounding, whispering to one another what could have happened. But the mystery deepened, thickening the fog of fear. The next night, an unmarked car parked on the edge of town at dusk, just sitting there, like an ominous shadow waiting for someone to take the bait. The flickering headlights seemed to pulse with an otherworldly warning, warning them to stay inside. Rumors danced like wildflowers on a gusty day. Townsfolk gathered in groups, huddled close, eyes filled with worry, voices hushed. "Did you hear about the girl who disappeared last Tuesday?" No one spoke of her since. "And what about the eerie sounds from the woods, snapping branches, low growls?" Fear wrapped its claw around the community, tightening with every shared story. A local man insisted he saw lights flickering in the forest, mysterious glows that twisted the night sky into surreal hues. Was it an alien spacecraft, or something worse? His wide-eyed panic gripped listeners, painting bizarre scenes in their minds. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But then, just when the air felt too thick to breathe, something shattered the night. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the streets. Residents rushed out of their homes, eyes wide, hearts racing. What had happened? As they gathered in the center of Maplewood, all stared in horror at the figure sprawled on the ground, a horror that left their hearts pounding in their chests. How had it come to this? They were safe here, weren't they? But suddenly, the shadows felt much closer. Did something sinister watch from the edges of the trees? And as the sirens wailed in the distance, one haunting thought echoed in the minds of all gathered. Were they truly ready for the storm that was about to break? The piercing wail of sirens tore through the restless night, swirling around the townsfolk like a ghostly fog. Eyes darted nervously among the gathered crowd, each person trying to comprehend the horror sprawled on the ground. The body lay motionless, a small girl, her golden curls drenched in crimson. Shock swept through Maplewood like a raging wildfire, igniting whispers and drowning out the recognizable sounds of the night. A local teacher, Mrs. Hargrove, clutched her chest, fighting to hold back tears. It can't be Emma," she stammered, her voice breaking under the weight of despair. Fear seized the air, thick and almost palpable. The girl who, just the day before, had been animatedly discussing summer plans with her friends was now lifeless, a victim of an unthinkable evil. A hollow scream echoed in Mrs. Hargrove's heart, reflecting the agony etched on every face in the crowd. Behind them, the unmarked car now seemed more like a predator lurking for its next victim. The driver's side door creaked open. A tall figure emerged, cloaked in darkness, the flaps of their long coat billowing like smoke. The detailed outline was unclear, but their presence was firm and unwavering, striking a chilling contrast against the chaos surrounding them. The townspeople instinctively staggered back, hearts racing, the primal instinct of self-preservation drowning out everything else. "Stay back!" shouted Officer Daniels, his voice booming, desperate to shield the terrified crowd. He rushed toward the figure, but a movement caught his eye. Hands were raised, revealing something glistening and sharp. The fear in the air thickened even further, Stifling breaths and cold sweat trickled down foreheads as the townspeople huddled tighter together. "Get away from her!" A furious voice roared. Ben, Emma's older brother, lunged forward, his eyes wild. Grief twisted with rage, transforming him into an unlikely warrior fueled by desperation. "You did this! I swear I'll kill you!" His voice cracked with intensity, igniting a fire in those around him. Fear morphed into a collective fury, raw and unrestrained. Hands clenched, best friends, neighbors, even strangers united in their burgeoning resolve. But the figure simply tilted their heads slightly, revealing a hint of a smirk, a calculation behind those dark, glimmering eyes. It was a moment so surreal it felt like an intrusion from a nightmare. The urge to retreat warred with the fervor to confront. "You know what you have to do," the figure's voice rolled low, reverberating through the night air as if casting a spell. "Things aren't what they seem in Maplewood." The sound sent shivers down spines, a blend of threat and provocation. Pure terror morphed slowly into confusion. Questions sprouted and blossomed in minds. What truth lay hidden behind the veil of the ordinary? How deep did this malevolence snake through their community? And among the chaos, Emma's lifeless body remained a painful reminder of the innocence shattered in an instant. A dreadful uncertainty drenched the crowd while air filled with unvoiced fears. Each person began to wonder, who else could be involved? What truth could possibly be lurking behind that shadow? With tension soaring, another noise broke through the suspense, a crackle from the trees. All eyes turned toward the woods, now vibrating with an unnerving energy, like an impending clap of thunder. What waited among the shadows? Did they dare to confront the nightmare that was unraveling before them, or would they flee from the horrors that lay just beyond reach? The storm was nearing, and Maplewood was far from safe. What would they discover when they dared to follow that whispered hint of truth? The air was electric, charged with a tension that felt almost like a living thing. As the figure before them unfurled into a more distinct silhouette against the dark, the townsfolk awaited a word, a move, something to ground their spiraling fears. The crackling from the woods intensified, echoing like distant thunder. Officer Daniels felt his heart race harder as he stepped closer to the figure. "What do you want?" he barked, his voice steady, though inside he was a maelstrom of emotions. Anger surged through him, mingled with the quiet tremors of fear. He could see the glint of something in the figure's hand, but dared not to look too closely. The figure leaned slightly into the moonlight, revealing sharp cheekbones and a slight sneer that turned the tension into something more sinister. "It's not just Emma, is it?" they replied, their voice a slow, deliberate drawl. "You think this town is innocent? You think the darkness won't come for you next?" A ripple of uncertainty passed through the crowd at those twisted words. Faces turned from anguish to confusion, eyes wide, searching for clarity that would not come. Ben's fists, still tightly clenched, trembled with the weight of both grief and anger. "You're lying! You took her!" he shouted. The figure just chuckled lightly, the sound hollow. "Did I?" They stepped backward into the shadows, sending a wave of panic surging through the crowd. In a flash, they dashed toward the tree line, merging with the darkness that whispered secrets of its own. "Stop!" Officer Daniels shouted, drawing his weapon. But the shadow had disappeared. He turned, surveying the crowd, filled now with frantic murmurs. Mrs. Hargrove's voice broke the tension like glass shattering. If there's more, if there's something else, she couldn't finish her thought, but the implications hung heavy in the air. "Nothing else matters right now," a voice piped up from the back, hoarse and shaky. "We have to get Emma to her family." Ben slid to his knees beside his sister, his hands trembling as he brushed her golden curls aside. A grief ripped through him like wildfire, threatening to consume his very soul. Distantly, he heard the whispers growing more frenzied, and something within him snapped. He couldn't stay here, chained to this desolation. "No more waiting!" Ben screamed suddenly, his voice laced with desperation. "We're going after her. We're not letting whoever did this get away." Officer Daniels realized the volatile power in Ben's words. The townspeople grew quiet, a sense of unity creeping through the air, as if their collective fears shifted into resolve. Eyes met eyes, determination ignited like a spark in a dark room. "All right," the officer finally said, rallying everyone with a steady breath. "We'll search the woods, but we stick together. No one goes off alone." They formed a huddled mass, strangers and friends, all united by the need for justice and the desire to protect what remained of their community. They moved toward the tree-line, shadows lurking behind them, but as they advanced, a cold breeze sent shivers through their spine, whispering warnings. The forest loomed ahead, dark and inviting. Each step felt weighted with unspoken fears. Would they find answers? Or would they be swallowed whole by the very darkness they sought to confront? Something rustled again, branches cracking against the solid earth, and someone gasped. The crowd froze, breath caught in their throats. Ben stepped forward, courage radiating from every ounce of his being. "Show yourself," he demanded. But only silence greeted him. What awaited them in that unforgiving blackness? What horrors had been hidden in the depths of Maplewood for far too long? They had no idea, but they were about to find out. Ben's heart pounded in his chest, the frantic rhythm echoing the nervous energy of the townspeople gathered behind him. The silence had thickened, wrapping them all in a heavy cloak of anticipation. Each careful step forward felt like an act of rebellion against the darkness that swallowed the trees whole. Beneath his feet, the ground felt alive, shifting and whispering secrets he couldn't decipher. "Keep close," Officer Daniels ordered, his voice slicing through the stillness like a sharp blade. He took the lead, his flashlight beam sweeping across the underbrush, illuminating nothing but old leaves and the sinister gnarls of roots. Ben's determination surged with each stride. Emma was out there. Somewhere in these shadows. They had to find her. Was she scared? Alone? His chest tightened painfully at the thought. But what if they found more than just Emma? The figure's words echoed in his mind. "You think this town is innocent?" A shiver raced down his spine. Did they? Trust had been a fragile thread lately, worn thin by old grudges and the weight of past secrets buried deep in the soil of Maplewood. A rustling sound came from the left, and a collective gasp rippled through the group. "Daniels, check it out!" someone urged, their voice barely a whisper, trembling with fear. Officer Daniels moved carefully toward the sound, the beam of his flashlight slicing through the murk with furious intensity. Suddenly he stopped. "Everyone, stay back!" The crowd held their breath as he shone the light onto a massive tree, its trunk twisted like a gnarled hand reaching for the sky. There, near its root, something glinted, a small, innocent object that stopped the world around them. "No," Ben whispered, dread pooling in his stomach. "It's Emma's locket," a woman breathed from the back, her voice quaking in disbelief. "How did it get here?" Panic surged in Ben's veins. He stepped forward, despite the officer's warning, desperate for answers. Kneeling next to the locket, he felt the weight of every gaze upon him. "Get a grip," Ben Daniels said, his tone firm, but laced with sympathy. "We have to think. This isn't a game." "This is my sister," Ben retorted, anger flaring. "I'm not treating it like one." The night trembled around them, shadows dancing menacingly. As fear hung thick in the air, another sound sliced through the chilling laughter of the figure from before. Ben shot up, adrenaline surging, eyes darting to the tree line. "Show yourself!" he shouted, voice laced with determination. The laughter stopped, a moment of suffocating silence before a low voice echoed back, "Such fire, but trust me, you'll wish you hadn't come." A piercing scream shattered the night, a fierce cry that belonged to no one they recognized. It sent shivers through the crowd, freezing them in place. "Emma?" Ben cried, terror ripping through him like a hurricane. With hearts pounding rapidly against their ribs, the townsfolk huddled together, whispering frantic prayers, fear clawing at their throats. "We need to move!" Officer Daniels yelled, trying to rally everyone, but his voice cracked. They hesitated, exchanging terrified glances, fear battling against the flicker of courage igniting within. A low growl rumbled from deeper in the woods, a primal sound that didn't belong to any creature they knew. The air chilled, and something dark shifted just beyond the reach of the flashlight. "Run!" Ben shouted, breaking the paralysis that gripped them all. As they took off through the trees, the underbrush scraping against their legs, Ben's heart sank at the thought of what lay behind. But they had to push forward. They had to find Emma and uncover the truth. With every step, a question gnawed at his mind: what had they awakened in the depths of Maplewood? The shadows seemed to ripple, alive and hungry, stretching toward them as they fled. Would they escape this nightmare, or were they racing toward a far worse fate? Each breath felt like a countdown, and every heartbeat threatened to drown out the faint sounds leading them deeper into mystery. Branches whipped at Ben's face as they plunged deeper into the woods, the oppressive darkness swallowing them whole. He risked a glance back, heart hammering against his ribs. The flashlight beams of the townsfolk flickered like fireflies, their faces twisted in fear. His thoughts raced: was that growl a warning? Or a death knell? "Keep moving!" Officer Daniels barked, pushing his way through the tangled underbrush. Breathless, Ben fought to keep pace. The tension coiled tighter around his chest. Emma's scream echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder of what was at stake. Why would Emma's locket be out here? Someone gasped, a tremor of disbelief and fear in their voice. It was a question that pounded at Ben's thoughts. Had she been here? Had she touched this cursed earth? A sharp turn brought them to a small clearing, moonlight pouring down like a spotlight. For a moment, it felt safe, almost serene. But the tranquility was short-lived. A rustle in the bushes drew all eyes, and everyone held their breath. "Daniels," Ben murmured, his eyes wide. "What if—" "Shh!" Daniels whispered, lifting his flashlight with trembling hands. The beam landed on something. No, someone crouched low, half hidden behind a large rock. "Is it her?" someone whimpered, looking desperately from face to face. But as the light illuminated the figure, a collective gasp filled the air. It was not Emma, but a stranger. The wild hair and dirt-caked skin of the woman sent chills racing down Ben's spine. Her eyes were wide, pupils dilated, as if she had seen something too terrible to comprehend. "She's hurt. We need to help her," another townsperson shouted, rushing forward. But before they could reach her, the woman's trembling fingers shot up, shaking violently. Don't come closer," she gasped, her voice cracking. "It's not safe. They'll come for you too." Ben froze. Who will come?" She looked past them, a raw fear in her eyes that turned Ben's blood cold. "The darkness, it awakens at night. It knows what you're searching for," the crowd murmured, uncertainty rippling through them like a cold wind. Officer Daniels took a step back, fury and fear battling in his eyes. "That's enough," he shouted, trying to regain control. "Keep it together. We need to focus on finding Emma." But there was no denying the fear creeping into his voice. The woman's gaze shifted into the trees, and her breath quickened. "You don't understand. She's already gone with them." Before anyone could react, the growl erupted again, a low, guttural sound that seemed to vibrate beneath their feet. Panic erupted, splintering the group as people turned to flee. Ben clenched his fists, each pulse of adrenaline urging him to stay, to fight for his sister. "Stay together," he called, voice hoarse with desperation. "We can't leave now." But in the chaos, dread twisted around him. One by one, the townsfolk were swallowed by the forest, their frantic footsteps fading. He grabbed the woman's arm, pulling her close. "What do you know?" he demanded, desperation tightening his grip. Her gaze met his. "Emma is a part of it now. The darkness won't let her go. And soon, it will take you too." A cold shiver shot down Ben's spine. The weight of her words crushed him. They were up against something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. As the shadows stretched longer between the trees, another scream pierced the night, a scream that didn't belong to the woman, or to any familiar voice. It echoed like a bell tolling for the lost. Ben's heart raced anew. "We have to find her. We can't give up." But uncertainty loomed larger than the trees around him. What was hidden in the depths, waiting for them to discover? He felt the pull of the shadows, the fear that perhaps they had ventured too far. Were they really racing to save Emma, or had they crossed a threshold they would never return from? As the last flickers of light from the townspeople faded away into the abyss, Ben steeled himself. The answer lurked just beyond the next tree, promising answers but threatening everything he held dear. What awaited him in that never-ending dark? The silence hung thick in the air, each breath Ben took filling his lungs with a chilling dread. He squeezed the woman's arm tighter, as if her frail presence could anchor him against the encroaching darkness. "What do you mean, part of it?" he pressed, desperation lacing his words. The shadows danced wildly around them as if mocking his quest. "Please," the woman whispered, her voice tremulous. "There are things in this forest, things you can't fight off. They take from us. She has become part of them. Forever." Before he could respond, the low growl reverberated again, closer this time. Every instinct screamed at Ben to run, to abandon the search and save himself. But Emma's face flickered in his mind, the laughter they shared, the promises they made. He wouldn't leave her behind. "Stay close," he urged, trying to keep his fear in check. "We'll figure this out together." The woman nodded, but her eyes darted back toward the trees, pupils wide with terror, as if sensing something even he could not. The quiet was broken by another scream, sharp and piercing, resonating through the timber. It was Emma, but the sharpness of the sound cut through him, igniting his fight-or-flight response. The woods felt alive, cramped with unseen eyes, hungry and waiting. Panic seeped into Ben's veins, and he felt an overwhelming urge to flee, but he locked eyes with the woman again. "What do we do? Where do we go?" "They live in the darkness, draw power from fear and despair," she whispered, her gaze fixated somewhere beyond the clearing. "You'll find her if you light the way inside. But what? You have to tell me," Ben demanded, his voice trembling. "If you search the heart of the forest, you may uncover the truth," she said in a rush, "but you must be willing to sacrifice everything. They will not let her go easily. And if you're not careful..." He didn't need to hear the rest. Ben felt the weighted air pressing against him. "I have to try. I can't lose Emma." "Then let us go before it's too late." Before they could move, the ground shook beneath them, uprooted soil and echoes of snarls reverberating in waves. Ben stumbled, pulling the woman with him, adrenaline coursing as branches clawed at their skin. "Run!" The thick trees seemed to lean in, closing around them as they dashed deeper into the woods. Ben hated every step, each crunch beneath his feet, every low branch that scraped his bare arms. They were taking him toward the belly of a beast, and he felt it in his bones. But he couldn't turn back. Not now. A flicker of movement caught his attention, something darting between the tree trunks. Heart racing, he turned back to the woman. "Did you see that?" "Keep going," she hissed, panic edging her tone. "Stay focused." But the sound of leaves rustling grew louder, and he felt the oppressive weight of eyes on him, the dark creatures pressing in. They were drawing nearer, whispering promises of despair, feeding off their fear. Suddenly, the woman let out a choked scream, falling backward. Ben barely caught her as she hit the ground, her eyes wide in horror. "They're coming for me," she gasped, frozen in place. "It's too late." "No." Ben gripped her shoulders. "Fight. We can't give in." But even as he urged her, a shadow, darker than the night itself, loomed over them. It twisted and writhed, forming a shape that was not quite human. As it drew closer, Ben felt icy fingers trailing up his spine. He couldn't look. He had to protect her. He had to protect Emma. In that very moment, the woods growled again, but this time it carried a sinister promise. One that spoke of death, of being swallowed whole. "Get up!" Ben yelled, shaking her desperately. "We have to move." What he didn't see was a figure slipping silently through the trees, a figure that had been watching. A malformed silhouette whose intentions bled malice. As the darkness closed in, the ground beneath his feet trembled ominously. They were no longer alone, and Ben's heart pounded in a desperate race against time. What would happen when the storm finally broke? Would he find Emma, or would he lose everything at the edge of this darkness? The encroaching shadow flickered, a vortex of darkness swirling at the edges of Ben's mind. He shook the woman, urgency coursing through him. Get up! We can't stop. We need to find Emma. She blinked slowly, as if trying to break free from the fetters of fear. I can't move. Her voice was a mere whisper, the strength draining from her. No! Listen to me. You have to fight. His heart pounded as he scanned the trees, shadows flickering like ghosts, taunting them. He had to keep them moving. The weight of the darkness pressed down, suffocating. The woman finally stirred, her breath coming quickly. They're everywhere, they'll take us both. A roar shattered the air, deep, guttural, echoing through the forest like a death knell. Ben felt his stomach drop as he pulled her upright. Something monstrous lurked nearby, hidden in the bramble. He couldn't think about that now. We have to move. He grabbed her arm and pulled, keeping a firm hold, and they stumbled forward. Every instinct screamed at him to look back, to see what was hunting them, but he didn't dare. The forest morphed around them, roots snagging at their feet, branches reaching out like skeletal hands, eager to drag them into the dark. We shouldn't have come here, the woman cried, her voice cracking as they ran. You have no idea what you're up against. You're right. I don't. He shot back, desperation slicing through his words. But I will find Emma. I won't leave her behind. Suddenly, as if summoned by his declaration, a piercing shriek reverberated through the trees. It was human. Ben's heart seized. Emma. He knew that sound. Urgency ignited within him, propelling him deeper into the thrumming heart of the forest. Listen! Do you hear her? We're close. The woman hesitated, fear washing over her features. We shouldn't, we can't, we must. This is our only hope. He could almost feel Emma's warmth, her laughter wrapped around him like a lifeline. We have to keep moving. Just as he turned to urge her again, a thick mist enveloped them, choking out what little light remained. Ben felt a shiver race up his spine. The oppressive fog was alive, teeming with whispers that curled around him, wrapping him tight. They were words in a language he couldn't comprehend, full of malice and despair. Then, from within the fog emerged a figure. It was tall and looming, eyes like burning coal piercing through the darkness. Ben's breath caught in his throat. The creature moved fluidly, a grotesque blend of shadows and flesh. Its grin was wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth that glistened in the half-light. Run! He shouted, abandoning all thoughts of keeping the woman safe. He lunged forward, adrenaline tearing through him as he sprinted to escape the spectre-esque gaze. At that moment, he couldn't dwell on the sound of her gasping behind him, or the possibility he might leave her to fend for herself. Emma needed him. The ground shook violently beneath him, roots twisting and tangling, trying to drag him into the earth. He stumbled, almost losing his footing. Emma? He yelled into the suffocating mist, his voice echoing off unseen trees. Ben! A familiar voice called. Hope surged through him, almost dizzying. She was close. He plunged forward, the creature's growls trailing behind like a malevolent echo. Each step felt heavier as the darkness pulsed, feeding off his fear. This was more than a forest. It was a living nightmare, determined to keep him from Emma. Through the haze, he caught a breathy sob, barely muffled by the trees. Emma? There! He pushed through a thicket, clawing at the branches until he emerged into a small clearing. And there, on the ground, was Emma, pale and trembling but alive. Ben! She reached for him, panic glistening in her eyes. Help me! But as he rushed toward her, the ground beneath him shifted. A deep rumbling erupted, and the shadows coalesced around him, congealing into a shape that made him question everything. The whispers grew louder, drowning out their voices. The woman cried out from behind him, but Ben's focus was solely on Emma. Would he reach her in time? Or would the forest consume them both? In that moment, Ben understood the true nature of the battle they faced. It was bigger than just Emma. It was a fight for their souls. As the shadows surged forward, he knew one thing: he had to either awaken the light within him or be swallowed by the void. But what was the price of that light? And who else would pay it? Ben lunged towards Emma, but the ground twisted beneath him, sending shockwaves of terror through his body. The shadows writhed, foreboding figures massing all around, each one whispering promises and threats in a sinister dialect he couldn't understand. The familiar warmth of Emma felt like a distant dream. "Help me!" Emma whimpered again, her eyes wide, glimmering with desperation. For a moment he locked onto her gaze. There was fear, but through that haze, a flicker of something more powerful, a need to survive. "Hold on!" he shouted, struggling against the suffocating darkness coiling around him. He stretched out an arm to reach her, but the moment he did, a sudden force pulled him back, as if he had breached an invisible barrier. "Ben, don't!" the woman yelled from behind him, her voice shrill with panic. "They're using her. It's a trap." Ben barely registered her words through the confusion. Trap or no trap, couldn't he abandon her, couldn't he let this be the end? He wrestled against the bodily tension, every sinew in his being riled up as he clawed forward, determined to break through whatever held him back. The shadows danced ahead, stretching and contorting, shaping themselves into nightmarish forms. The shrieks of lost souls echoed in the mist, blending seamlessly with the frantic cries of Emma. A part of him wanted to flee, to save himself from this growing hell. His heart ached with the urge to turn and run, but another part wound around fate's cruel web, and that part chose duty. "Ben!" she cried, her fragile voice breaking through his turmoil. "Please don't leave me!" He had to reach her. With one final push, he lunged forward, clawing through the air as the shadows surged simultaneously, an army of despair trying to swallow him whole. Their cries wrapped around him, dragging him deeper into their tangled underbelly. This was more than a forest. It was a dark conscience, sentient and seething, an embodiment of fear and loss. Just as he grasped Emma's hand, the earth quaked violently, and the shadowy figure solidified into a thick wall blocking their escape. Dark laughter resonated, echoing back the fears he buried deep inside. "You think you can save her?" a voice slithered through the clamor. "You will pay dearly for your folly. Let her go!" Ben shouted, rage bubbling over. But even as the words left his mouth, a hollow uncertainty gripped him. His mind flickered to thoughts of their life back home, the mundane chaos, laughter at the dinner table, the mornings filled with potential. A figure emerged from the fog, towering and grotesque, silhouetted against the wailing shadows. Its eyes burned with a wild, fervent hunger, and it took a step closer. Grasping at his throat, Ben struggled to breathe. The woman, forgotten for a moment, surged forward, a wild spark igniting in her gaze. "Ben! Listen!" That snapped him back. "What?" he gasped, still clutching Emma's hand. The figure loomed closer, and the shadows pressed in tighter, trying to drag her away. "Your strength comes from within. It's not just about physical power, it's your resolve, your light. Remember who you are. You have to believe." "Believe," he whispered, still staring at the creature's malevolent grin. "Trust in your bond. She's your anchor." With her words echoing in his mind, images of the life they'd built together flooded him. Emma's laughter, her warmth, their dreams unfulfilled. It wouldn't end here. Not like this. "Emma?" he shouted, and in that moment, he felt something shift within him, a flicker of light igniting against the oncoming dark. As he summoned every ounce of strength, the shadows shrieked, recoiling from the warmth of his growing resolve. They writhed and twisted in agony, but Ben's focus remained steady. With a surge of determination, he squeezed Emma's hand tighter, tethering their lives together against the onslaught. But it came with a price. The creature before him let out a thunderous roar, echoing the truth he'd temporarily forgotten. This battle was never meant to be fought alone, and now, it threatened to consume everything he cared about. As the shadows clawed at their heels, a desperate plan formed in his mind. Together, they'd have to confront the beast that thrived on fear, only to discover that the darkest secrets often lie within oneself. Would they stand together and rise against the shadow? Or would they risk it all and shatter each other in the process? The question lingered, a haunting whisper as light and darkness converged. The creature before Ben emanated an aura of dread, its presence thick and almost palpable. As it advanced, the very air vibrated with a deathly stillness, as if the world held its breath. Azure eyes glinted with malice, drawing Ben into their chilling depths. "Do you even understand what it is you're up against?" The voice slithered, dripping with disdain. Ben's heart pounded in response, but he felt Emma's grip anchor him amidst the chaos. "Let her go!" he shouted again, desperation cutting into his words. But fear clouded his heart to a slow throb. Would force alone be enough? "Ah, the valiant hero," the beast sneered. "You cling to her like a child to a security blanket. But your love, it's your greatest weakness." The shadows stirred, whispering secrets of his doubts. They echoed the moments of insecurity, failed opportunities and unfulfilled dreams, painting a dismal portrait he couldn't shake. He felt the darkness creeping closer, threading itself into his very thoughts. "Don't listen to it, Ben!" The woman's voice pierced his tunnel of despair. "Fear is a lie. It's there to trick you. Stand tall." Ben swallowed hard, forcing his focus back to Emma. Her gaze, still desperate but resolved, fueled something deep within him. "Emma, I want to let go," he vowed fiercely, as if the words conjured a shield against the tide of uncertainty. With renewed strength surging through him, he pulled her closer, their connection igniting a warmth that pushed back against the suffocating dark. The shadows writhed again, angry at the flicker of light breaking through their ranks. "Foolish boy," the creature roared, its voice rippling through the air, rattling Ben's bones. "You think sentiment can fight the primordial? You dare challenge me?" His mind flashed back to nights spent talking under starlit skies, dreams woven with her laughter and love. This was bigger than fear, this was survival, and together, they could fight. Together he breathed, and without hesitation, he tightened his grip and placed Emma's hand on his heart. "Let your light flow," he urged, squeezing his eyes shut, channeling every moment they shared, every ounce of hope, igniting a spark that spread between them. Ben felt it, the warmth igniting around them like a beacon in the storm. As their hearts synchronized, their resolve became a palpable force, surging through the dark, like a tide pushing back against the shadows, forcing them to retreat. "No!" the creature shrieked, its fangs bared. The shadows twisted, trying to reclaim lost ground, but the bond between Ben and Emma glimmered brighter, a shield against the encroaching darkness. In that moment of clarity, a sudden truth seized Ben. He heard the murmurs of countless souls woven into the shadows, each trapped by their own fears. They clawed and screamed, desperate for release. A flicker of compassion surged within him. "Emma, they're lost," he gasped, adrenaline mixing with understanding. "We can help them." "Are you crazy?" she shouted back, incredulous. "We need to focus on us." "No! All of this, it thrives on fear. If we can break that cycle, we might save them too." The shadows hesitated, sensing the shift. Ben's heart raced. This wasn't just about them anymore. Their resolve coalesced, radiating warmth and piercing through the dark, shimmering like a star. Suddenly the beast lunged, its grotesque form springing forward with primal fury. "You cannot save them!" it yelled, and in its roar the shadows swelled, surging toward them. With a final breath, Ben knew he had to act quickly. He turned to Emma, their gazes locking. Together, he affirmed, drawing strength from the bond they shared, readying themselves for the onslaught. And as the darkness rushed towards them, they braced themselves for the impossible choice ahead. Could they face the shadows inside and out, or would fear claim them both? The moment stretched, anticipation tingling in the air like static. Would they conquer the darkness, or would they drown within it? The answer loomed, shrouded in uncertainty as the shadows closed in. The darkness swarmed around them, suffocating and oppressive. Ben could feel the cold breath of fear knotting in his gut. "Emma, let us create our light," he said, drawing as much courage from her as he could muster. She nodded, eyes fierce, and together they took a deep breath, each inhalation a pledge to one another. With determination surging through his veins, Ben closed his eyes tightly, visualizing the warmth of every shared moment, the adventures, laughter, and secrets they had tucked away in their hearts. Emma's hand felt warm against his, a reminder of the love that defied the shadows. He pushed that warmth outward, imagining it spreading, embracing the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. "Remember us!" Ben shouted into the abyss, his voice roaring against the shrieks of despair around them. "Remember who we are!" At that moment, it was as if the very fabric of the night trembled. The shadows staggered back, writhing in confusion, shrieks of disbelief mixing with their feral growls. "What is this?" the beast hissed, rage igniting the air. "Your light is nothing compared to the abyss." But Ben felt the truth of the bond they shared pulsate through him, growing stronger than the looming dread. "No! Our love is everything!" he declared, louder now, the conviction in his voice melting the fear that encased his heart. "We are not afraid." At that, Emma closed her eyes and poured her spirit into the light, her thoughts and love weaving together with Ben's. The glow around them intensified, radiating in waves, illuminating every corner of the darkened forest. Shadows shrank back, revealing glimpses of faces, lost souls trapped by fear, their eyes wide with hope as they felt warmth for the first time. Together, they cried in unison, and an overwhelming brilliance erupted from their clasped hands, casting aside the suffocating darkness. "No!" the beast bellowed, its anger ricocheting through the forest as it lunged forward. But Ben and Emma stood firm, anchoring themselves to each other and to the light that pulsed with their resilience. As the dark figure approached, it began to unravel, devoured by the brightness of love and determination. Ben could see its fear now, and ancient terror felt deep within. "You are not alone!" he shouted, reaching out to the shadows surrounding them. They quivered, and for a moment, he saw something shift in their emptiness. "Help us," they whispered, in voices laced with longing. And just like that, a tide of empathy flowed through Ben. "We will not abandon you!" he shouted fiercely. "Fight back against the fear!" All around, the lost souls began to rise, flickers of shimmering light sprouting from their chests, as they aligned their hearts with Ben and Emma's bond. Together, they formed a united front, a cascade of brilliance washing over the darkness. As the shadows recoiled in retreat, the monstrous form spasmed wildly and bellowed its last. A final anguished cry resonated through the woods as it faded into nothingness. The oppressive darkness, once tangled deeply within the roots of Maplewood, began to dissolve. Ben and Emma shared a silent understanding, their hearts intertwined through every moment spent facing the nightmare. Slowly, they turned towards one another, the weight of their fears giving way to an overwhelming sense of relief. The forest brightened around them, the thick fog of despair lifting and revealing the beauty overshadowed by pain. The once still night erupted in a chorus of welcome sounds, the gentle rustle of leaves, the chirp of crickets, and the calming breeze brushing through the trees. But Maplewood was forever changed, its heart now etched with memories of fear and strength. They emerged from the shadows as heroes, the townsfolk waiting just beyond the trees. The faces in the crowd glimmered with hope and gratitude, uniting in shared triumph. "Emma!" shouted Ben, rushing forward and enveloping her in a fierce embrace. He held her tight, grounding his heart against the realization of what they had faced together, and what they had defeated. Tears of relief streamed down Emma's cheeks as she clung back to him. They had taken the darkness inside, confronted their fears, and emerged stronger than they had ever known possible. "Let us go home," Ben whispered, his heart swelling with love and hope, a promise for new beginnings. As they turned away from the haunting woods, Ben looked back one last time. The darkness, now fading, surrendered to the light within, a new dawn rising, a testament that love always prevails. And as Maplewood lay behind them, they walked forward into the future, hand in hand. Now's your moment. If you loved this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Your support matters more than you know, and don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Let us hear what you think. Finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. True fans know how important it is to support the channel. Get in on the action now,